Reg de Swart, he's Executive Director of Indirect Tax at EY, to break down this budget speech that we've just heard. Thank you very much for joining us, both of you. Obviously, VAT went up 1%. Musi Maimani talking about it being devastating for the poor. Your thoughts, please.
Well, I think it was expected. I think when we went into the budget, we realized that we're not going to walk out here feeling happy about the impact that the budget's going to have on ordinary citizens. And I think a lot of people expected the VAT rate increase. That was the easiest tax with the biggest amount of revenue that we can collect in a short term. The unfortunate thing of increasing VAT is obviously the negative effect that it has on the poor. I think what we need to realize is that this was the last tax that we could increase, the last in the line. By increasing VAT, we basically recognize that there's no other tax that we can increase, which in the short term would give the necessary revenue. I'm sure the government would not take the step if there was any other options available. This tells me that sufficient revenue could not be released by cutting expenses or by increasing any of the other taxes, and that's why we left with an increase of VAT.
Yamkela, on the one hand, Treasury. Let me just come back to you. On the one hand, Treasury taking from us in the form of VAT, but from a poorer person's perspective, social grants going up higher than inflation.
That's true, and we need to recognize that VAT system is not designed to distribute wealth. It doesn't function in that way. You need to look at the government expense side to see where the balance is. VAT is designed to collect revenue. The expense side is more designed to redistribute wealth. So we also expected that if there's a VAT rate increase, it will be offset by a higher than inflation adjustment to social grants. I think that's the one side which brings some alleviation to the poor, but the other side that we should not forget is the free education. That's also a part and parcel of how we're going to alleviate the tax burden on the poor.
Indeed. And then, Yamkela, I come to you now. Now, it was quite positive that the growth forecast has been revised upwards, but of course, above 1% is really not much to dent unemployment. Your thoughts?
Well, if you look at the reason why there's some sort of positivity, first of all, is the fact that for the first time in a really long time, I could say 10 years, you know, there's this investor confidence that we're seeing, there's business confidence that we're seeing. So if we continue being consistent in solving some of the issues that, for instance, came from the rating agencies, like political instability, which we seem to be getting there. I'm not saying we're there yet, but the fact that we delivered a decent budget speech today with just a few disturbances, it means that we're getting there. The fact that the sauna was, you saw everybody smiling and clapping. So from a political perspective, you know, we're getting there. And then the governance issues, you know, that the rating agencies had looked at to say this is one of the issues that you're having in South Africa from an accountability perspective, looking at the SOEs and all of that. So if you listen to the minister and the president, they're both talking about addressing those things. Of course, now we need implementable plans to get that. But ESCOM already, you know, we're seeing positivity, as you heard the minister, you know, speaking on some of the things that have happened from an ESCOM perspective. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is, because there's certain changes that are happening, I see that our growth will get better and better. I don't see us going back. Yeah.
Reg, Yamkela touches on the SOEs. I just got a sense that there was not a solid statement on the SOEs. There are various things that government can do. They can assist SOEs with some finance by selling off some assets. They're looking at properties to sell off. Or they can look at partial equity, you know, part equity by the private sector in some of those SOEs. But it's sort of like wishy-washy. Did you get a concrete sense of what government wants to do with SOEs?
I agree. I didn't get in the budget speech any concrete message of what's going to happen from a budget perspective regarding SOEs. I think much more was said in the State of the Nation address last Friday, where clearly government is going to address lack of governance in state-owned enterprises. But in the budget speech, there's not something concrete that came through.
Yamkela, I thought it was very positive, all of the initiatives that were coming in terms of incentives for the manufacturing sector, for industrial incentives, incentives for small business, investing in the youth and all of that. Is this more of the same? Have we seen this before, or is it different? Is it more intense and a bit more, does it look more concrete than previously?
Well, we've seen this before, but then I would say that, and I mean, I know you said this morning that I'm always so positive, but I think we're in the new era, because if you look at some of the things that government has done from attracting investment in South Africa, go and look at Invest SA. The fact that, you know, they're able to cater for you as an investor in South Africa, and it's a one-stop show. You know, that's where you get to do everything. So for SMMEs, for youth and all that, for the first time, you know, they'll get an opportunity to be exposed in these investors that are coming into the country. And because there's that trust, because it comes down to trust between business and government. And for the longest time, because we didn't have that, and there was this clashing of us and them, then, you know, the problems just continued and continued. But now the conversations, even on the SOEs, I mean, we're going to have a summit where we're going to sit down, as the president had proposed, where we're going to sit down and say, how are we going to fund these SOEs going forward, because they can't be dependent on government. So for me, the trust part, the fact that we're all coming together and now we're all wanting to do this, it's positive. Okay. Have we seen it before? Definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get some reaction from Lucanio.